The initial college football playoff committee rankings are out, and the Dogs are at number 2. That's not really what this is about, though. Do they have the toughest path to make it to the college football playoff? Does Georgia have the toughest remaining schedule path, however you want to put it, to get to the college football playoff? I think so. After looking at what's left on the docket for some of these teams, I think Georgia's got the toughest way to go from here on out. And don't know if it's super close, to be quite honest with you either. I don't think it's super close. But you look at the playoff odds. I've got the playoff predictor numbers up, and you know what? I will pop that up for a second. Got the playoff predictor numbers. And you see Ohio State has still, just like last week when we talked about this, Ohio State still has the best odds. They got Georgia at the 4th best odds, 41% to make the college football playoff. So just wanted you guys to get a glimpse of kind of what ESPN is thinking in terms of, who's got the best chance to make it. And they think Ohio State does. Ohio State, pretty much the only tough game they have left would be Michigan, because I think they probably would win the Big Ten championship if they beat Michigan. So I think that, they really only have one daunting game left on the schedule. And while it is very daunting and it will be against a probably top 5 Michigan, because I'm assuming Michigan's going to beat Penn State, that's the only thing they've got left. Otherwise, they shouldn't lose. I don't think the Buckeyes should lose any other games. But let's go based off of the college football rankings, which are out now. And they've got Ohio State at 1. That's fine. Yeah, I think Ohio State, at this point in time, does probably have the best chance to make the playoff. All they got to do is beat Michigan. I think that they certainly can lose to Michigan, and I almost want to predict that now. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, you just got to beat teams you're supposed to beat. There's only one team where there's a real challenge. I want to save Georgia for last. Michigan, looking at their schedule, you still got to play Penn State. That'll be a tough game on the road that I think Michigan will probably win, and you've got to play Ohio State. So I think for Michigan, they're right there after Ohio State, because they have Penn State on the docket, and then they got to play Ohio State. So for Ohio State, they don't have as much of an issue left. Florida State, they're ranked number 4, and in those playoff predictor odds, they were ranked number 2 with a 65% chance to win, or a chance to make the playoff. What's left for them? Miami, not great. North Alabama, cupcake, they'll win that. At Pittsburgh beat Louisville, but, I think Florida State should win that game. Now, you should say that about the Clemson game and the Boston College game, so there's that, and that's part of why Florida State is ranked number 4, not number 1 or 2. And then at Florida, could be a tough game. It's a rivalry game. I think that Florida State is definitely a much better team than the Florida Gators, and I think they'll win that game. And so Florida State, they have a pretty easy path to the playoff too. It's easier than both of them. Actually, I would say Florida State's got the best path at this point. When it becomes the ACC championship game, which they're almost definitely going to be in at this point, who's it end up being against? Is it Louisville? Is it a rematch with Duke? Is it Virginia Tech? Either way, they're better than all those teams. A rematch with a healthy Duke? Interesting. But I think Florida State probably has the best chance at this point. If you want to write them in as one of the 4, I'd be kind of surprised if they don't make it. But I have said over and over that I don't think this Florida State team is as good as advertised. So it's one of those things where are they going to win out, or are they not the team that we maybe thought they were after they beat LSU? So time's going to tell on Florida State. But on paper, easy matchup. Washington and Oregon. Let's look at them together. Washington, tough schedule in my opinion overall. Because Washington has not looked good the last couple of weeks, and I think Oregon's probably better than them. I think Oregon would win a rematch, but at USC could be a shootout. Versus Utah, it's going to be a tough game, and then Oregon State. So Washington's got a pretty tough path here too, and possibly a rematch with Oregon. So they're up there with Georgia as far as having a tough path. But let's debunk some of that. USC is not that good, guys. I don't know that they're the 20th best team in the country. So I don't really look at that ranking like that. Utah just got wiped by Oregon, and I think Washington can do the same to them because Utah's offense is not there. As good of a defense Utah has, the offense is not there. Oregon State, Washington can totally lose that game. And then if they have a rematch with Oregon, I think they would maybe lose. But I'm putting Washington behind Georgia at number 2 for out of the realistic teams towards the top. And I'm talking about the only one losses I'm going to talk about are Oregon and Bama, and Texas and Oklahoma. After that, I'm not really going to talk about it. And to be honest with you, let's just get Oklahoma out of the way. Don't think it's going to happen. With Oklahoma at this point in time. I don't think they're going to make the college football playoff. In fact, ESPN doesn't even give them a 1% chance after looking back at that. Oregon, USC, I just think Oregon's going to take care of business. In fact, I'm going to call my shot right now and say the Oregon Ducks are going to make the playoff. I think Oregon's going to end up being one of these teams. 12-1 Pac-12 champion with a chance of redemption and beating Washington is definitely in the playoff as at least the 3 or 4, depending on how it plays out, possibly the 2. Who knows how that goes? So I think Oregon's got a good shot just because they're playing well the last couple weeks. That was a close emotional loss to Washington that could have gone the other way. Poor coaching decisions by Dan Lanning there, possibly at the end. I think the Ducks have a good shot to make it, but ESPN. Oh, I misspoke. ESPN has Oklahoma with a 29% chance, 1% higher than Oregon, which I don't agree with. I don't think Oklahoma's for real. Texas, I think, has a great chance. Versus Kansas State is the toughest game left on their schedule. And then what will likely be a rematch with Oklahoma, in which I think they would win. Oregon and Texas, to me, it looks like they've got a good shot to have 2 of those spots. I don't know that we're going to get more than one team from a conference. I don't think it's going to be one of those deals where there's 2 SEC teams or 2 Big Ten teams. But chaos always ensues. Chaos always ends up ensuing. So we'll see how that goes. Now Georgia, you stuck with me for this long. Ryan Curley from Dog Post. If you stuck with me for this long, you are a 5-star Georgia fan, and you should be signing up for our newsletter down below. Georgia, what do they have left? Number 12, Missouri. Number 10, Ole Miss. And these teams at the moment are probably ranked those teams. I think the rankings are somewhat accurate. Tennessee, are they quite as good as number 17? That's probably a little bit of a stretch, but that's going to be a tough environment up there. And then the SEC championship game, you're probably going to end up playing. Georgia's probably going to end up playing LSU or Alabama. So having that as your last out to get to the college football playoff and be a 13-0, possibly SEC champion, I just think that's a tougher road when you add in Missouri, Ole Miss, at Tennessee. I'm not ignoring Tech. That's in there. And then the SEC championship game, look, it's probably going to be against a top 10 Alabama, who's going to be a tough out. I think Georgia's better than that team. For Alabama, you got to beat LSU, and you probably got to end up beating Georgia, which makes your chances pretty tough too. Georgia, hardest chances. Oregon and Texas, best chances if you're asking me. Thanks for watching.